I was having this conversation recently with someone who's planning an offsite for their company. And in my perspective, and it's almost heretical, the point of an offsite is, yes, you should ideally go and you should definitely do some businessy stuff together, because why not? You're doing that normally day to day in a distributed way. You're going to be together, sure. But the real point is just to build that trust and to build that rapport with one another and to know who each other is and build that almost safety net underneath that. But I think for a lot of people, they're like, well, no, let's just go and work and let's have working blocks. And it's almost like they're trying to squeeze the productivity juice out of an offsite as opposed to just saying, no, go and spend time together, develop relationships. Any thoughts on that? Commentary on that?
100%. Violently agree with that, because we run a lot of offsites for companies, and yes, the CEO often come to us and say, okay, great. So for 80, 90% of the time we spend together, we need to do strategic planning and roles and responsibilities, right? And we'll back them up and say, actually, I think we need to flip that. Let's spend 60, 70% of the time having fun, helping you all get to know each other, helping you build trust, telling stories about where you come from, helping understand what your quirks are. We have sometimes, if we'll do like a CEO or a C-suite weekend at dinner, I'll bring like a very old bottle of wine. Very old is like the 90s. If it's too old, it's meaningless because it'll be older than people at the table. But it's like, what were you doing in 1998? Some people at the table say, I was in kindergarten. Others will say, I was in college. A more senior person on the team will say, I was at my first job at XYZ. And just help giving people some convention, some anchor to hang a story on is a really easy way to start making those emotional connections. It's convenient in a way for us to think that work is just about work and our lives are something separate. I think that's one of the great myths of our time. I think gladly it's a myth that we're starting to work our way out of. Over the last 2 years, we've had an eye into everyone's home, some people working from their bedrooms. Early in pandemic, I did calls from a bathroom in a group house I was staying in Tahoe. We've kind of laid down our armor a little bit during this time. And I think that now is the moment to take advantage of that and actually build real relationships around that moment where we've peered into each other's lives. This work-life balance, this work-life myth we talk about, we wrote about that in the book. I don't think it's really helpful. It's not helping any of us. People feel like they need to suit up. We used to suit up physically. We literally wore suits, and now we suit up emotionally. My hope for all of us is that we can show up more and more as ourselves at work, because that's where the juice is. That's where the great ideas come from. That's what gets our prefrontal cortex firing. That's what bathes us in great hormones like oxytocin and serotonin to help us feel creative and help us feel connected.